In the 1950s and 1960s, before protein powder had colonized the supplement industry, and before whey had become the default answer to every muscle question, the athletes who built the most durable physiques in America were eating a food so ordinary it was considered a staple for housewives and hospital patients. It sat in plain white tubs in every refrigerator in the country. It cost almost nothing, and the men and women who ate it consistently maintained lean muscle into their 60s and 70s at a rate the supplement era has not improved upon. That food was cottage cheese. Researchers at the University of Maastricht and McMaster University have confirmed what those mid-century athletes understood by practical observation. Cottage cheese, at roughly $1 per serving, triggers a muscle protein synthesis response in adults over 50 through mechanisms that whey protein is biologically incapable of replicating regardless of dose. Before we begin, tell us in the comments, do you currently eat cottage cheese, or did the supplement industry convince you there was something better in a tub with a logo? We read every comment and reply with specific guidance. Now let us go back to the 1950s to rebuild your muscle. Starting with number 4. Number 4. The slow release advantage. Before the supplement industry had a product for every hour of the day, athletes ate differently at night than in the morning. They had the practical observation that certain foods before bed produced better recovery than others. Cottage cheese was at the top of that list, not because it tasted best, but because something about it worked while they slept in a way other protein sources did not. What they were observing was casein, the primary protein in cottage cheese, comprising approximately 80% of its total protein content. Whey is fast digesting. It peaks within 60 to 90 minutes and clears within 2 to 3 hours. For adults over 50 with anabolic resistance, the age-related blunting of muscle sensitivity to protein signals. The spike arrives and passes before the muscle has fully capitalized on it. Casein behaves differently. In the stomach, it forms a gel-like clot that slows digestion dramatically, releasing amino acids steadily over 5 to 7 hours, maintaining levels above the muscle protein synthesis threshold for the entire duration of sleep when growth hormone peaks and tissue repair operates at its highest rate. Researchers at the University of Maastricht demonstrated that consuming casein before sleep produced significantly greater overnight muscle protein synthesis compared to whey at the same time, most pronounced in adults over 50, because sustained amino acid availability compensates for the reduced sensitivity that anabolic resistance produces. Within 72 hours of your nightly cottage cheese habit, the overnight catabolic window has been biochemically closed. That shift is invisible in the mirror, but it is the foundation on which every other result in this protocol is built. Number 3. The Calcium-mTOR Amplification. The adults who maintained the most muscle into their later decades were not necessarily eating the most protein. They were eating the most nutritionally complete protein sources, foods delivering mineral cofactors alongside amino acids rather than amino acids in isolation. Calcium is associated with bone health, and that association has caused its role in muscle function to be almost entirely overlooked. But calcium is also a direct activator of mTORC1, the master switch initiating muscle protein synthesis, through a calcium-sensing receptor pathway that operates independently of and additively with the leucine-triggered pathway protein supplements target. Cottage cheese delivers approximately 130 milligrams of calcium per half-cup serving, activating mTORC 1 through 2 simultaneous pathways. Leucine triggers the amino acid sensing pathway, and calcium activates the calcium-sensing receptor pathway. Whey, processed to isolate protein from the mineral matrix of milk, delivers the first pathway without the second. Research published in the Journal of Biological Chemistry confirmed that calcium-sensing receptor activation produced additive mTORC1 stimulation on top of leucine-triggered activation, the combined signal measurably greater than either pathway alone. For adults over 50 whose mTORC1 sensitivity has declined, activating both pathways simultaneously is a meaningful difference in the anabolic signal the aging muscle receives per serving. Within 2 weeks of consistent evening consumption, dual pathway mTORC1 activation is operating at every feeding. The biological surplus required for muscle preservation has begun to accumulate. Number 2. The phosphorus energy floor. A second mineral in cottage cheese contributes through a mechanism operating not at the level of muscle building, but at the level of the energy system, powering every contraction your muscles make. Phosphorus is the central mineral in adenosine triphosphate, ATP, the direct energy currency for muscle contraction. Every time a muscle fiber contracts, ATP is consumed and must be regenerated. When dietary phosphorus is insufficient, ATP regeneration rate falls and energy available per unit of time decreases, producing the fatigue and early exhaustion that adults over 50 attribute to aging rather than a correctable nutritional insufficiency. Cottage cheese delivers approximately 150 milligrams of phosphorus per half cup, serving in the highly bioavailable form of organic phosphate, esters the ATP regeneration pathway utilizes directly. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition confirmed that correcting phosphorus insufficiency through whole food sources in older adults produced measurable improvements in walking speed and time to fatigue within 14 days. Within 2 to 3 weeks, the energy floor beneath your physical activity is higher than when you started. The fatigue that arrived at the second flight of stairs now arrives at the third. Number 1. The Selenium-Thyroid-Muscle Connection. There is a fourth mechanism in cottage cheese that almost no conversation about dairy and muscle ever mentions. And for adults over 50, it may be the most consequential of all. Your thyroid produces T3 and T4 hormones that set the metabolic rate of every cell in your body, including every muscle cell. T3 directly regulates the speed of muscle protein turnover, the rate at which your body breaks down old muscle protein and rebuilds it with new. When thyroid output falls, muscle protein turnover slows, and the net balance tips toward breakdown regardless of how much protein you consume. The thyroid cannot convert T4 to active T3 without selenium. Selenium is the essential cofactor for iodothyronine deiodinase, the enzyme executing that conversion. Without adequate selenium, T4 accumulates unconverted, T3 falls, and the metabolic rate of your muscle tissue drops below the threshold required for efficient repair. Cottage cheese delivers approximately 20 micrograms of selenium per half-cup serving, nearly 36% of the daily recommended intake, in the highly bioavailable form of selenocysteine. Researchers at the University of Navarra demonstrated that correcting selenium insufficiency through dietary dairy sources in older adults produced measurable improvements in T3 to T4 conversion ratios within 3 weeks. This explains why 2 people consuming identical protein can have dramatically different muscle preservation outcomes. The one whose thyroid runs at full selenium-supported T3 output rebuilds muscle protein efficiently around the clock. The selenium-deficient one runs that process at reduced speed, and no amount of additional protein compensates for a metabolic rate that cannot process what it receives. And here is the honest truth about what 21 days of this protocol actually delivers. You will not see new muscle in the mirror. Visible hypertrophy requires 6 to 8 weeks minimum. What 21 days produces is 4 biological shifts operating beneath the surface: the overnight synthesis window closed by casein, the dual mTORC1 signal fired by calcium, the ATP energy floor raised by phosphorus, and the thyroid-mediated turnover rate restored by selenium. These 4 shifts determine whether your muscle mass continues declining or your body finally has the complete biological toolkit to hold the line. The athletes of the 1950s who ate cottage cheese every night did not have clinical trials or mTORC1 papers. They had a food that worked, the consistency to eat it nightly, and physical results confirming that consistency was the right call. The research caught up to exactly what they had already figured out. The food costs $1. It requires no preparation. The consistency is entirely within your control. And the muscle, synthesized overnight, signaled through 2 pathways, powered by adequate phosphorus and metabolically governed by a thyroid finally running at selenium-supported capacity, belongs entirely to you. Now we want to hear from you. Do you currently eat cottage cheese, or has the supplement industry convinced you that a $60 tub of powder is doing something a $1 dairy food cannot? Tell us in the comments, because we read every single one and reply with specific guidance. Stay consistent, stay strong, and we will see you in the next video.